everyone! Happy Friday! Today's video is going to be on nibbage. You don't have to see my face for this because I really want to focus on the writing and not on my beauty. So you're just going to have to deal with looking at the beauty of the pens. We are going to be looking at a selection of the Scribo nibs, and you're going to have to forgive me because I'm going to have to start and stop the video because I have to at some point interchange the nibs to show you the different ones. So that's what we're going to be doing. I have quite the range, not the full range, but a very interesting enough range of nibs to share with you. So let's start with the smallest one, which is, it's really small. It's an extra fine. So the non-flex nibs are 18 karat gold, and the flex nibs are 14 karat gold. So they're a little softer, well, actually significantly softer. But be warned, the 18 karat gold nibs are also quite soft. So if you think you can go in here and like hulk the nibs because, you know, it's an 18 karat and it can handle it, just don't. It'll be horrendous and you'll probably spring it and it'll change your writing experience forever. So I'm gonna zoom in a bit. Give me a second here. Okay. I'm also going to be using Waterman Florida Blue. Tell you why? Because I'm lazy and I'm going to have to clean all of this after. So, this one is inked with something else. Hang on. This one is, yes, I did just prime it. And don't worry, it's not going to make this nib any wetter than it already is. Okay. Get this going. This is not the fault of this nib because it's been sitting upright. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lick it. Even though it's a scented ink, it's going to be disgusting. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's so bad. Oh, my tongue is blue. Oh my god, okay. Let's get this going. You know what? Let me just do the awful of contamination. Okay. It's really good that you can't see my face because my tongue is literally blue from this. Okay, so here we go. Maniacal laughter. Okay. As I said, it's not the nib's fault. So this is the extra fine. It is the Western extra fine. By the way, this is from wiping it off my tongue. So what I mean by that is it's like a fine, I think. So I would argue that it's not extra fine, but just a regular fine. And to be honest, that's okay. Just know what you're getting into. Like if you're looking for an actual needle point, I would say that this is not it, but compared to what Scribo generally has, like a triple broad, it's pretty fine. Now, what does it feel like? Shockingly, it's pretty smooth. It has a little bit of feedback, but that's, you know, not surprising. I found it not a gusher, but I typically use their flex nibs, which are gushers. So I think it performs within the range of what we can expect from the ebonite feed, the tuning. It's just not a needle point if that's what you're looking for. However, it's quite decent. And if you're someone who needs a smaller nib for like your planner or your work notes, it's a great option. I am not going to apply pressure to this nib, but I will tell you that it has some softness to it, and I kind of put that warning out there at the beginning. the 18 karat gold nibs have softness, so be careful. Gazed anxiously at bouncing kumquats. Now, I'm also not going to be super scientific and like caliper the lines or the nibs. I'm just going based on what the nibs are labeled with, and in this case, extra, extra fine. So, next up, what I have on here is the fine flex. So there you go. The flex nibs say feel the flex, and the regular nibs say feel the writing. So that's a way to recognize them more quickly than looking at the gold content. As I said, it's a 14 karat gold and it's paired with an ebonite feed. So we are going to use Waterman Florida Blue again. Sorry, Serenity Blue. Get that going. I love the flex nibs. They are extremely soft. Like, I'm not even applying pressure, and it's just, it's flexing on the downstroke on its own. So, pretty incredible. It is, you know, it's not the worst fine. Like, it's in terms of the size, it's pretty accurate for a Western fine. And then I'm gonna just slowly add pressure. If I can recommend anything, when you are flexing or applying pressure, keep your angle of pen lower to the page, because if you're holding it up high, you're actually putting more strain on the tines. So if you want your flex nib to last longer, keep it low. Now, this is a beautifully smooth, wet nib. I find it very enjoyable. Quite wet. So, oh, sorry. I'm dipping, so I could have inked it, but I didn't. If you have a problem with me dipping, I'm sorry. I've used these pens for literally years now, so I know how they work, I know how they perform, and okay, I'm gonna have to ink this. And I'm happy to tell you that they flow really well. Like, they're very wet. So I don't know if you could tell from the angle of the camera, but I'm lowering the nib to apply pressure. The fine comfortably, I would say, goes up to a broad. If you're really pushing it, you can pull off a double broad. I would not. Simply because they're really soft nibs, and if you spring it, you have to have a nibmeister fix it. So, quite delightful. So that's the fine flex. Next up, I have, this one is the extra fine flex. Oh, I guess I should have done this one first. Oops. I'm going to ink this because this is the pen we're going to use for all of our extra nib units. And so I just think it'd be easier to have it inked. So I'm just doing that. Can you see that I'm just so excited? I am actually really excited about this. I think this is going to be really cool, and I have reviewed this pen on its own. I'll include a link for that. Okay, so we have the, okay, that's the fine flex. Now we have the, oh, I didn't even write it. Sorry. So let's just say fine flex. Now, the extra fine flex. Wow, that's hideous. Okay, so this one says feel the flex on it, because indeed it is a flex. Extremely wet. If we write without pressure, I think it's a killer extra fine nib. Honestly, you could easily use this for daily writing and not have to apply pressure, and it does give you that softness of the flex nib. Honestly, absolutely delightful. I think the line variation on the extra fine flex is more noticeable than the fine, simply because, I mean, it's an extra fine. But hopefully you can see the difference of how it shows up. So you just get the more variation because it's extra fine. So, and again, we're going to want to lower the angle. It's a tender, delicate nib. So treat it with kindness and treat it with a soft, soft touch. That sounds weird. However, it's a beauty. So there is that. Now we are going to switch over to the broad. Okay, so what I have on here is a broad flex, and then we're going to do the triple broad and the stub. So clearly my tastes lean towards the really broad nibs. You probably know that already if you have been here before. So we have the broad flex. Again, another 14 karat. The Scribo broad is slightly stubby, which you will see. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that was off. You will see that. Slightly stubby. So it's definitely a broad, but it is, let me see. So it's basically shaped like that, right? And obviously proportionally gushing. If you're looking for a nib for line variation or character for your writing, this is a superb option, but the same warning applies. Be very gentle with it. This one is a gusher. You actually go from broad to maybe a double broad, but what you really notice is that it's much wetter. So you're going to get more ink flow in general. I think it's quite delightful. This one is part of my personal collection, as is the EF, as is the EEF, and the fine flex. So sorry, it took me a minute. Okay, so that's the broad flex, stubbier shape, much wetter. Okay, so here we are going to now switch over to, I'm going to just unscrew this gently. Why am I using a paper towel? Because I already have ink all over my tongue, and I don't know, I just feel like I don't want to have to explain that anymore. We're going to switch to the stub. So we're just going to screw that in. Okay, and then we're going to get it going because I just dried out sorry, I just swapped out the feeds. Oh Lord, I got ink all over me, people. Ink everywhere. It's like an ink fest. Okay, so the stub does have an extra charge. It is a lot of fun. Okay, so this is not a flex, but you can, let me bring it up a little closer here. It is quite chonk. There is an upcharge for the stub nib. You can go check out Scribo. I'll include links for you to check them out. It is not an inexpensive nib, but there's a chunk of tipping on there. Oh, hang on. There we go. Okay, so, wow. It is... Anyway, I've had fun with this one because it's like, it's just ridiculously wet. So the stub you get is stubby shaped. You get a nice triple broad, well, maybe double broad. But on the cross strokes, you get finer lines. Now you'll notice that I'm writing at a higher angle. That's simply because I'm aiming for the sweet spot. And so if you're someone who writes at a very low angle, you may struggle with this nib a little. It's not the nib's fault. It's just a function of the shaping of the tipping. It can be done, but it works best at higher angles because that's where the sweet spot is. So, because this is not one of the flex nibs, I'm not really going to apply pressure. You can, it is soft, same warning applies. Yeah, it's a heck of a stub, and it's a lot of fun, and really, really a signature nib. It's actually not my favorite of their nibs, simply because it's got the sweet spot, and I already have a triple broad nib, so I don't need a stub. But it's sorry, I'm thinking at the same time as doing this, and I'm doing it gently. Because of the sweet spot, sometimes I just want it like always to write however I want it, so it's just not a nib that I always use. The triple broad, on the other hand, I'll tell you what, it has the same thing, same sweet spot, but what it does have differently, what it does differently is that it's broader. Believe it or not. So I'm like, why use a sweet spot stub when I can use a sweet spot triple broad? So the 3B, I'm just going to do a line here. It's you might not be able to tell from there, but it is broader. It is wetter. So I'm going to do, it also has the stubby shape. So you can see the side strokes are not as fine as the stub. So the sweet spot is bigger, for sure. Let's do, it's a not firm nib, sorry, it's the non-flex nib. So be careful. The sweet spot is more forgiving, so it's a bit skippy here. Nothing wrong with it, it's just oils and all that. Let me just do this. There you go. So I put pressure here, bring out some of the wetness. It ran a little dry there because it's not a flex nib. Okay, I ran it dry. It's not a flex nib. So next up, let's get it going again. This is not the nib's fault here because remember, I'm swapping sections. So here we go. It's slightly less stubby than the stub, big surprise. And so for that reason, I enjoy it more because I don't know, it just suits me better. So out of all these nibs, my favorite is the extra fine flex, which is this one, and the 3B. And I do have the broad flex, this one. It's totally fine. It's just, if I had to pick two, these would be my favorite, but these are the three that I do have in my pens at all times. So there you go, everybody. I hope this was useful for you if you're looking at Scribo. And Scribo is doing some really beautiful materials, and they're doing really great things with the nibs, and their presentation is really fabulous. So I'm going to link to the videos of this one, the Fil River, oh gosh, I don't even remember how to pronounce it. Anyway, it's a beautiful pen, as you can see there. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below, and I'll happily get back to you as soon as I can. If this was useful for you, I would love to hear that, and thank you so much to Scribo for loaning me the extra nibs and the pen. Everything else belongs to me. So they facilitated this so that I could share it with you, and so hopefully you appreciate that. And if you'd like, you could find me on the socials as Gourmet Pens, which you probably already know. That's me, Gourmet Pens. And you can also find me at Gourmet Pens Shop. And if you'd like, you can lend your support on Patreon. And that's everything, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on next week. Bye.